Good morning, everyone. Dr. Tam here with Rocky, and today we have an amazing topic: diabetes. Who doesn't like diabetes? No one likes it, but a lot of people have it, and it affects millions of lives
Me.
all over
Right.
the world, everywhere. You probably, if you're watching this, know
Mhm.
someone who has diabetes. So let's get started, Rocky. What do we got about diabetes?
Right. Okay, good morning. Just like what you said, there are millions of people who have diabetes. In fact, 11.3% of the US population has diabetes, and about 3.4% of all US adults are not even aware that they have diabetes, right? So about, 40 million of US population. That's a lot. And the percentage of adults with diabetes increase with age. So about 29% of those people with diabetes are at the 65 years or older range. So, Dr. Tam, based on your experience, how many patients come in to your clinic and complain about health issues with diabetes as the root cause?
The interesting thing is that one of our intake boxes that people check is whether or not they have diabetes, and then whether or not it's type 2 or type 1 diabetes. Once in a while, we see a type 1 diabetic patient, but most of the time, these are patients with type 2 diabetes. And it's very common because what happens is diabetes, people have to understand, is not something that just one day popped in and says, "Oh, you have diabetes." No, diabetes is something that has been accumulated. It's a chronic condition that is progressive. See, we're dealing with a lot of progressive deterioration and degeneration of the spine in our office. But diabetes is a progressive degeneration of the organ in your body, specifically the pancreas, the liver, and the kidneys. But over time, it will start to degenerate the nerves and the blood vessels around the rest of the body as well, starting with your feet and your hands. So it's actually quite common, you know. Um, I would say at least a few times a week, a new patient comes in and says, I have diabetes or I have neuropathy, right? And because 80%, up to 80%, I should say, of people with diabetes will experience, it's not even like a myth, you will experience some form of neuropathy. And because we have helped a lot of patients with neuropathy, we start seeing patients with diabetes. So before you become a diabetic, there is something called pre-diabetic, right? So before you become pre-diabetic, chances are you have been insulin resistant for a long time. Insulin resistance has been a term that over the last few years has gotten popular because a lot of diabetes, well, starts off, almost all starts off, unless if you're type 1 diabetes, almost all starts off with insulin resistance. Well, to understand diabetes, we have to understand what insulin resistant is. Whenever we eat, whether it's protein, fat, or carbs, automatically you will have a spike in insulin. Well, the thing is that if you have simple carbs like just fruits, candy, pancakes, muffins, pasta, insulin's going to really spike because insulin is going to spike due to the fact that you are loading carbohydrates and sugars into your body and into your bloodstream. Protein will cause an insulin spike as well if you eat too much of it, but insulin will rise slightly no matter what you eat, even the good fats. But for example, the standard American diet, we've talked about this in our other series, the SAD diet. If you think about the SAD diet, people wake up with some milk or orange juice, pancakes, bacon, right? And then they end it with a splash of syrup, okay? That's usually the breakfast. Well, They get to work, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, there's donuts. So you just feel like you had breakfast, so you're not going to eat the donuts right away. So you said, let me let other people eat it first, and I'm going to wait until 10 o'clock, and that'll be my snack time. You grab a donut or two, some coffee, milk and sugar, and boom, you've got more sugar now, right? Come lunchtime, well, I'm going to have some good lunch and maybe I'll do a salad, which is wonderful. But then you start throwing the croutons on there, right? You got some barbecue ranch dressing, some fried chicken. What do you think's on that fried chicken? It's just flour, right? So now you've got the fry flour, the barbecue ranch, the croutons, all carbs. Well, we can't leave work without some afternoon snack. But what's an afternoon snack? Maybe you go grab a Starbucks, a good old Frappuccino, right? Where it has at least 100 to 200 grams of sugar. There's no doubt in my mind, okay? And you end the night with some vegetables and finally a piece of chicken, right? But some people have some wine. You throw on some soda. But in the evening, come 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, oh, I gotta have my ice cream. Even though it's sorbet ice cream, dairy free, it's still loaded with sugar. So here's the problem is that most Americans load their whole day with sugar in every single meal, wondering why their body can no longer intake the amount of sugar because you're getting insulin spikes all day. Well, insulin takes 2 to 3 hours, maybe even 4 to 6 to come back down. So, people who are not giving their body a break between meals and are not fasting a little bit, you're doing 5 meals a day. So, your sugar level and insulin just stays high the whole time. And then, boom, at night, you get a crash. So, one of the symptoms that people are going to feel, this is a long answer for how the symptoms are if you have diabetes, right? Long answer. Number one, if you get hungry really fast, right? If you're always thirsty, okay, because your body's trying to waste away the sugar in your bloodstream, and part of it is you're depleting water, right? Third is, well, you are on the verge of diabetes if you are at least you look at your BMI 30, 35 and above, right? So weight comes a factor. And then ultimately, what you put in your body can affect the way you sleep. If you can't have a good night's sleep, if you sleep and then you wake up in sweats or you wake up hungry in the middle of the night, right? Chances are your blood sugar levels are not balancing the right way, you see? Or maybe to the point where diabetes starts to become neuropathy. And then you start losing your balance, your sensory starts kind of going out of whack. Your feet is tingling and burning, your hands are doing the same. These are all signs or the start, okay, or delay signs of diabetes. And of course, you prick yourself and then that blood sugar just boom rises, right? That's diabetes. A1C, anything higher than 5.7 is no good. See, anything higher than 5.7, your system's already failing. People think, oh, my sugar is slightly high. The fact that it is high means that your system is already failing. That's like saying my car has a little bit of black smoke coming out. It's not full on black smoke, it's a little bit. Or my brakes in my car, yeah, or my brakes in my car are squealing just a little bit. You freak out. Most people will be like, oh my God, my brakes are squealing. I got to take it in, see what's going on. But somehow, when sugar spikes just a little bit, we think it's normal. Isn't that crazy?
Mhm. Right. It is, and it's crazy that the diabetes is actually dubbed as the killer pandemic or the modern preventable pandemic. It kills more people than COVID did. So
Every year, probably
so yeah, every year it's about 40 million, I think. 4.2
4.2 million.
million people last year just for the
Wow.
US.
So 4.2 million die from diabetes. Yeah, because your body starts shutting down.
And we talked about a lot of things, a lot of chronic diseases that that really came out from diabetes, right? Like neuropathy, um, even leaky gut can be, can be somehow related to
Hmm.
diabetes. So there are a lot of misconceptions, Dr. Tam, about this disease. So let's try to tackle some of the misconceptions when it comes to diabetes. The first one is it's only those overweight people who can get the
Definitely a myth
disease.
because you ever heard of the term skinny fat, right? Where people might be thin, but they're very high in cholesterol, their blood vessels, their heart doesn't work well. No, I've known some skinny people with diabetes, right? No doubt. It's not a just a weight thing. Now, of course, the prevalence of diabetes increases with weight, right? But it's not just people who are overweight. There are people normal and skinny that have diabetes as well. And type 2 diabetes, may I say, not just type 1, type 2.
Right. And there are
Oh
even
yeah,
kids, right, who look healthy, and then end up having
right?
diabetes. And another myth, Dr. Tam, is we can only get diabetes by consuming
No,
sugar.
that is incorrect. See, because what you eat and what you put into your body, even protein in the long run, too high of protein, you'd be like, I don't eat a lot of sugar. Well, there's other sugars. There's protein, high in protein causes insulin resistance, right? Too much, you know. Maybe you have fried foods, like say fried chicken. Say everything you eat is fried. Fish sticks is fried. You want the fried chicken. You want the fried calamaris, fried anything. You go to carnivals nowadays. They have fried Oreos and fried Coca-Cola. All right. Yeah. So everything's fried. Well, that's batter. Batter is sugar, right? So even though you don't think it as sugar, but I don't eat candy. You know, I eat pretty healthy. I just have pasta, noodles, white rice, brown rice, and I drizzle it with soy sauce. What do you think all that is, right? So that has sugar content in it, even though it's not straight sugar. Myth.
hmm Myth. All right. And most people are not aware that they have type 2 diabetes because it doesn't even show any symptoms.
Right. See, the thing is, we had a patient that started feeling like he was having headaches and his mouth was getting really dry. He's getting super tired, but he hasn't been tested. And he's like, well, the last time I tested my A1C, it was in the six and sevens, but we got it back down to the fives, but I just feel terrible. I said, you got to get tested. I said, your A1C might have just spiked without you knowing it. Boom, he gets tested, and it's almost eight. A1C became eight over the course of a few months because he didn't take good care of himself. He didn't stay active. He didn't eat well, right? So a lot of times we don't know it. Even the people who are diabetic thought they got better and didn't even know it, let alone the people who've never been tested, right?
hmm Right. Okay. And is it true that, you know, actually Dr. Phil didn't realize that he has diabetes, type 2 diabetes. He had it for a
Hmm.
very long time, and then when he got tested, he immediately got tested type 2. So the results are type 2 diabetes. So that's actually crazy. Now, is it true that if you do have type 2 diabetes, you can no longer have an active lifestyle? I mean, it's especially it's summer, right? A lot of people want to go out, hike, and do the summer activities, right? So if you do have that type 2 diabetes, is it true that I can no
No, it's
longer do
absolutely not
those?
true. Just that it just means that you have to be a little bit more aware of your body dealing with type 2 diabetes. Okay, so here's the things that people have to watch out for. You can still be active, you can still go out for walks, hikes, and different things. But you have to understand while you have type 2 diabetes, you have to eat foods. You have to bring some snacks with you because your body is not very efficient at turning your glycogen storage from the liver into sugar, right? So because it's not very efficient at it, your body can't you have a higher chance of just dipping in sugar levels. So you just have to bring some good snacks with you. Okay, don't bring the sugary snacks. Bring the ones that has some protein in it, right? Not the ones that are super high in sugar, but also bring some fruits with you. Bring a little bit more water with you. Understand that because of diabetes, you have to take a little bit more water breaks and also bathroom breaks as well because your body's trying to waste away the sugar. Understand also that your muscles are going to ache a little bit more because your recovery slows down because of circulation slows down. So after you work out, having an extra couple days to recover before another workout is going to be a key. I urge our patients with diabetes go out and enjoy the outdoors, right? But they just have to be very aware of what's going on and how it can affect them. If you just bring water, snacks, and take breaks along the way, most people would do fine. But of course, you want to check with your doctor before you do anything extreme that you haven't done and start slow, right? Start with maybe a half hour hike or a 15-minute to half hour walk. Build your way to 45. See how you do at an hour before you go on. Don't just go from sedentary, I'm at home all day watching TV, and then go, bam, I'm going on the 4 hour hike up the mountain. No, that's not how you do it. And then you end up passing out, getting heat stroke because you never trained for it to begin with. So that's the key thing. Training.
Yep. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you have to bring in snacks,
Yeah.
like healthy snacks, protein, fruits, right? Because most of the diabetic patients that I know would always have, a can of Coke or a
Yeah.
bar of chocolate, just, and when I ask them why, they would say, just in case my sugar goes down, I
Yeah.
have something.
I mean, you could carry, say, like a fruit bar, right? But that's like at the extreme. You should carry some, you know what, some good beef jerky or like turkey jerky that has low sugar but higher protein, right? You can carry that with you, you see, and have some, your lunch should be, bring lunch that has vegetables, some protein in it. Maybe end it with a good fibrous fruit like berries, like an apple, right? You don't, and then you just carry that fruit bar just in case you overexert and you feel like passing out. When you feel like passing out, that's the people who overdid it. They never, it's like me, who normally maybe can run like a mile or two, and all of a sudden, you know what? Day three, I'm going to go from a mile and a half to a half marathon. And I'm just going to kill myself, right? And I'm going to suffer from dehydration, heat stroke. I start getting lightheaded, hallucinations. Whereas the person who might look just like me, who's used to running 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles and goes and takes on a half marathon, and they're okay, right? My body is just not accustomed to it, you see? I think so many of us don't know our limits and try to test it without practicing first. See, we need to practice.
Mhm. So we not just practice, but just make sure that your body is ready to take on that
Hey, and it works,
challenge
the
as well.
same with shopping. I know ladies with diabetes sometimes they'll say, "Oh,
Mhm.
I was shopping all day. I got
Yeah.
so hungry. I forgot to eat everything." I said, "Oh my God, that's like mind over matter." I said, "Did you didn't bring any snacks? You didn't have lunch? Like how did you skip lunch? Normally you have 5 meals a day. Imagine someone who goes to work, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, 5 meals a day, and all of a sudden they go out on a weekend and go for these hikes, and your body's used to rejuvenating 5 times a day. They skip breakfast thinking, oh, you know what? I'm going to intermittent fast today, right? They completely skip breakfast. They don't take any snacks with them. And then their first meal is lunch. They skip 2 meals. You went from 5 meals a day to skipping the first 2 meals of your breakfast and breakfast brunch snack. And all of a sudden you're wondering why, oh my gosh, right before lunch I have a headache. I can't believe this. Maybe it's the altitude. They're on a small hill, 400 feet above sea level. There's no altitude sickness there, right? So it's kind of hilarious when you think about it that way. I'm not trying to be comedic or anything, but and then they end up skipping lunch, maybe. Oh, we went straight to shopping, and then my first meal was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I think I did well, but I almost passed out, Dr. Tam, right?
Believe me,
Happens.
Dr. Tam, when it
It
comes to
happens.
shopping and ladies
Yeah,
easily
yeah,
forget.
ladies and shopping. I'm telling you, shopping's a killer sport. It should be a sport, you know?
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tam, for shining light on this misconceptions about diabetes. On our next episode, we are going to be talking about how to manage, the symptoms and how to live a healthier life despite having diabetes. So, thank you so much, and I hope you
Thank you,
enjoy the rest
Rocky.
of the
See you
day.
soon.